infrastructure falling behind. This presentation is intended for all citizens of large American urban cities and city planners, of course. This is a reflection of America's past infrastructure and how we can improve it today in the modern era. So, the United States is considered a first world country, of course, and we're always driving innovation, standing as a beacon of modern times and power to many of our neighboring countries and international onlookers. But as the rest of the world advances, why do we seem to be falling behind in terms of our infrastructure? But we've seemed to have embraced our hostile designs in the late 20th century rather than finding the driving force that we've been known to have as the United States to remodel and advance like the rest of the world has. So here we're going to look for ways to redevelop our transportation framework with the tainted past and look towards prioritizing our citizen safety, health, and environment so that our country can be the first world country we always have been. So our current interstate highway system was inspired by Germany's national highway system, throughout the 1930s to like 40s and 50s. And this was pioneered in America by Dwight D. Eisenhower. The essential role of these highways were to transport military equipment. Like you can see it here in this picture right here. This is used to transport tanks from one place to the other. That's how Germany designed it to be used during the war, and Eisenhower saw this as a great tool for the United States, considering how large we are as a country and our defense budget that we have needed. So it was also open for public use, of course. This large piece of infrastructure, we're going to build all these roads across the country. Why would it be privatized for only military use? So these highways undoubtedly improved personal freedom to travel in the US, while simultaneously transforming cargo distribution across the country. So we now have a new way to transport cargo across our country. All these new trucking companies popped up, and we designed our trucks to work efficiently on these highways for long distances. It revolutionized the way we move around the country and how we transported cargo. So let's move into now how these roads were designed. Robert Moses was New York City's master city planner during the Great Highway Boom throughout the 1940s and 60s. He was known to build highways to his public national parks. So he built a lot of parkways to transport people from the city to these national parks that he built as a public service. He built these highways with low bridges so trucks and buses cannot drive on them. His reasoning being that poor people ride buses. So you can kind of see what he means by this. He really didn't want anyone without a car to travel to his national parks. As time passed and highways were constructed across the country from dense urban areas to extreme rural communities, many have called out in opposition for the construction of new routes and bypasses, as well as the beginning cry for the redevelopment of old construction, especially in urban areas. Since he was really the first to do these kinds of highways in the United States through large urban centers, a lot of neighboring cities across the country used his designs as a template. No matter what, urban highways were always going to be a challenge for city planners from the start. The way they were drawn, they required the demolition of a great number of homes and communities. Unfortunately, a considerable number of urban freeways were intentionally constructed through dense minority communities, especially in large urban centers in New York. So now we realize instead of idolizing Robert Moses, we now know that he was a really power-hungry, racist, and classist city planner that really did nothing but divide communities for generations. As his template for an urban highway that you can see on the left side here was used throughout the country in cities like Chicago, Miami, Dallas, all of these Boston actually, a lot of these major population centers in the US were looking to cash in on the highway boom, get the federal funding for this. So now in the 21st century, we fully realize the damage that some of these highways have caused. We're now formulating plans to restructure, repurpose, or remove these intercity highways entirely. A good example of a city that is looking to deal with their intercity highway would be Rochester, New York. Their inner loop is a 2.68-mile ring around their downtown. So it was really used to transport commuters to and from downtown from the suburbs. But similar to the Cross Bronx and these other sunken highways, they destroyed hundreds of homes and businesses, and in their place, residents described a concrete trench was laid. Nowadays, following modern criticism of the highway tearing through the neighborhood, the city of Rochester began a discussion on how to attend to resident complaints. So when looking to remove a sunken highway, you can fill in the trench, or you can cap the highway. You can essentially turn the highway into a tunnel, maintaining a level ground above the highway. The city took into regard how little traffic the inner loop actually carried, and they found that capping the highway was simply too expensive and unnecessary. So they made the decision to fill the highway entirely, as mentioned. So here's how it looks today, and here's some images of future plans that Rochester has for their newly reclaimed land. Here's a little before and after the highway. The main goal that they were trying to do here was just get some new land for some affordable housing or mixed-use buildings. There's a great image showing the highway before, after it's filled completely, and the new housing that stands in its place. And this is a plan for the future that they have here. You see a lot of mixed use on the bottom, a lot of commercial down here, and residential on top, and arts, museums, and stuff. A similar issue arose in Buffalo regarding the Kensington Expressway. So this highway was built the same way that Robert Moses pioneered, and with the same circumstances as Rochester's inner loop. Here they're looking to cap the Kensington Expressway, maintaining the highway's access to downtown. This will enable, like we said, parks and new housing to be constructed, all while allowing the expressway to function without any limitations. This is a great picture here, exactly what I'm talking about. You maintain the highway below, and you have new parks and stuff, and the Humboldt Parkway roads alongside, still maintained. Maintaining capacity. This is the most important discussion when talking about urban renewal and the removal of these highways and around the country. What does this really mean in terms of urban renewal and stuff? So, some may show a rightful concern regarding the removal of major highways in densely populated downtown areas. It's a fundamentally valid concern, Urban renewal really isn't a discussion of remove the highways and force everyone to walk or bike. Asking an entire city and communities to do such is impossible, especially in citizens and residents with mobility issues and those with special needs. And nobody really wants to ride a bike to work every day or walk on a hot day. You can't ask everyone to do that. But in order to find our answer here to our problem, we can look at major cities across the globe for a simple solution. Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, London, Beijing, Hong Kong, and many more. They transport their people around the city without the use of the sunken highways through communities. These cities are all easily walkable, and they can easily carry both intercity and local commuters using effective public transport. Like here, we have on top the London Underground and underneath the Berlin U-Bahn. The major argument in support of urban freeways is that they help fuel a downtown housing boom by connecting the suburbs to the city center. That was the whole goal of these highways, connecting the newly developed suburbs to the downtown city center. But once again, we already have a solution for this that takes up less space and is less intrusive. So commuter rail is used to transport people to and from the suburbs into city centers. The most robust example in the United States would be the Long Island Railroad, serving Long Island suburban residents along the entire length of the island and transporting them directly into Midtown Manhattan. That'd be New York Penn or Grand Central Station. The MTA reports claim that the Long Island Railroad can effectively carry approximately 300,000 passengers per day at rush hour, all while taking up significantly less space than a freeway. That space being about 2 tracks, which is essentially equivalent to 2 highway lanes. So this is a high-capacity transit fact sheet provided by the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments. This really details the different modes of public transport that can be used across the city, all interlinked to effectively move people around. Like we discussed, we have commuter rail, and we have light rail. This is present in Buffalo. I believe it's called the Metrolink. So this also moves a lot of people during rush hour. Then you move further down the list, you have streetcars, which is a tram, buses, and then express buses. But you see how all these need to really work together to effectively create a good system of mobility and just moving people around in general. So this is a map of Buffalo, New York, as you know it. This is a transport map. So this is all the modes of public transport that are present in Buffalo right now. So you see here we have the Empire Service. This is a Amtrak line, heavy rail, and stops at Buffalo Central down here. There's 2 Amtrak lines here, providing good access across the state, New York City, and even up to Niagara Falls into Canada. And this is the Metro Rail here, like we discussed, low medium rail, bringing people from essentially UB South Campus to downtown. And all these little blue lines are bus routes to just transport people into the city center. This is Münster in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. They have a population of 307,000. A significantly less than Buffalo, and yet look how many transport lines that they have here. These are all intercity, or like we discussed, commuter rail. Plenty of lines here, and a lot of these multicolored here, these are tram lines and stuff, connecting people as far out to neighboring smaller towns and villages and such. This is a really good example of proper public transport in a city as small as this. We can do better. As a country and as a city, state, however you want to look at it. We can do better than urban highways. Highways carry less people, they take up more space, and cause more harm to communities in terms of pollution, and they disrupt the walkability throughout a city. America used to be a leader in comfortable and fast train travel, with routes and beautiful Art Deco stations in Buffalo, Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis, Albany. All of these major cities in the United States once had beautiful Art Deco stations. This is the Buffalo Central Terminal. It is abandoned, left behind when highways were being developed. It really may seem that this issue is not affecting our daily lives. It's overly apparent that even in our own country, with cities such as New York City and Chicago, that they both utilize public transport. It effectively provides access across the city, and it maintains a strong downtown without prioritizing urban highways for future developments. Like we said, New York has its urban highways, but in 2025 we're not looking to make any more. Downtowns in cities such as Atlanta, Detroit, Dallas, Albuquerque, hundreds more, they're really ghost towns during the day. Not a lot of people walking around, not a lot of like dense community in the downtown. There's a very little amount of people walking and enjoying public spaces like you would find in New York City and Chicago, for example, with Central Park and the waterfront that Chicago has. Cities that have prioritized public and urban life see millions of tourists yearly. People find it fun to just walk around, explore a city on foot, like without a car. All the major cities in the US have this potential, every single one of them. They really lack the will to change their infrastructure for the better. And car dependency has left whatever prior beauty that they once had lost or destroyed. Thank you very much. I hope you were able to take something away from this presentation to help you build your community. I hope I provided a new outlook on certain things, and maybe you can take to your city council representative, write them a nice little email. Thank you very much for your time.